Welcome to Scouts Eye, presented by Sports Info Solutions. Here's your host, Jeff Dean.
I'm your host today, Jeff Dean, and my coworkers, Nathan Cooper and Jordan Edwards, are joining me today. We're going to be doing a 3-team mock draft. We've done this in the past for a couple of years, and I'll pass it over to Coop to kind of explain, why we like it and what kind of benefits maybe it can provide.
Yeah, basically going through and creating our own team from everybody that's draft eligible this year. I think it's a really cool, kind of fun thing to go and see how you can build a team from, basically just the draft prospects, kind of build high-end players and see how things kind of shake out in terms of, the ordering of whether it's the quarterbacks, the receivers, the corners, kind of how everything shakes out there. So I think it's a fun exercise. We enjoyed doing it last year. I do have some cool numbers for you guys. This is coming out of nowhere, I know. Last year, we put this on Twitter, and Jordan won in the Twitter vote. 43%. Jeff got 30%. I got 27%. However, I went and did some digging, total points, and went through and took a look. Total points overall, yours truly, 451. Jeff, 338. And Jordan, 262. Lagging from behind.
How much of that was CJ Stroud, though?
All right. CJ Stroud had 103 points compared to Bryce Young, who had 2, and Anthony Richardson, who had 14. So again, let's do it this way. Offensive, I obviously dominated because of Stroud. But if you take the quarterbacks out of it, Jordan 150, Jeff 144, me 172. So I still win. Just to let you guys know. But I did lose the defensive battle by a little bit to Jeff. So Jeff did get me by 4 points in defense. Jordan, you struggled on defense. So it is what it is. But
I remember having to
yourself.
I had to take too many nose tackles and backup linebackers. So I was the weakest of last year's draft.
But yeah, we'll see how it goes this year. This will be fun.
All right, and so this year, order is going to go Coop, me, Jordan, and then we're going to snake back, and so it'll be Jordan, me, and then Coop in reverse. So, Coop, with the first overall pick in our draft, who are you taking?
Are you sure I can't trade out here?
I'm positive.
It's unfortunate.
Actually, I'll trade you 1 for 2, just straight up if you want.
Let me think on that. I'll get back to you. I'm going to throw a curveball. I am not taking Caleb Williams. I'll let whoever wants to take Caleb Williams take Caleb Williams. I'm changing it up because I'm going to have 6 picks until I pick again. I'm not going to get any of the top 3 receivers, so I got to get my number 3 receiver, and I'm taking Marvin Harrison.
Your number 3 receiver? You mean your number 1 receiver?
Well, number 1 receiver. Make sure I get one of the top 3 receivers.
Oh, okay,
correct.
I got you.
Good call.
I got you.
Yeah. Well, I feel pretty fortunate being the second overall pick then, because I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to take Caleb Williams as my quarterback. I only have to wait 2 more picks in between before I get another one. So I'll go ahead and lock in our number 1 QB on the board.
It's a good pick.
All right. Well, Coop screwed up my whole draft plan.
I knew that's what was going to happen because you were going to take both receivers. Nope.
Most likely, I was most likely, but yeah. So all right, I'll pivot here, and I will end up going Drake May here, so because I won't get him come around if I don't take him here with one of these 2 spots. I'll get the second QB here before it kind of drops off a little bit, and then so since we are kind of trying to keep this normal and go somewhat 11 personnel, I think I will end up going. I'm going to go with who I think is the second best receiver in this class. I'm going to go with Rome Odunze. That's my guy.
All right, that leaves me with a fairly difficult decision, actually. I could go with one of the top receivers in the draft. I could go with one of the tackles in the draft. Ooh, I don't want to risk missing out on all 3 of the top receivers, so I'm going to go Malik Neighbors with this one. Give Caleb Williams somebody to throw to right off the bat that's going to make impact plays all day long.
Smart. That's a good decision. I obviously have the luxury now of waiting on my quarterback.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna, with my twofer here, I'm gonna start out by grabbing Joe Alt. So I am gonna go get that tackle. I think he's our number one guy, and I think he's just gonna be rock solid from the start. So Alt is gonna be my cornerstone at left tackle, and then on the return here, I think I'm gonna dip into the defense for the first time here. I'm gonna go Dallas Turner on edge.
Great pick.
And I think he brings a lot of athleticism, bend, and strong pass rush ability. So I think that's going to be a cornerstone on the defensive side for me.
I like it. I am not quite ready to go defense. Back on the snag Jordan's guy, J.C. Latham, as my tackle.
You want him at left or you want him at right to start?
I want him at left to start, just in case my other tackle potential doesn't show up.
I like it.
All right, so back-to-back picks here. I'm going to end up taking Brock Bowers here because I think there is a massive drop-off at tight end. So I want to make sure I can get him before I go on a drought here of picks. And then, oh man, the offensive line. Both the two guys that I kind of came and wanted are gone. But still, I'm going to end up taking the left tackle here. I think before the left tackle class takes a little bit of a dip, I'm going to go with Olufosun.
To me, there was a part of me I was hoping you let him slip through and just be like, I'll wait on him. Well, then I'm going to keep J.C. Latham at left tackle, though, but I'm going to finish off my tackles and go Fuaga out of Oregon State. Just a monster in the run game. I think those two tackles are going to keep Caleb Williams upright. He's going to need that because our interior of the line. And I think overall the draft class isn't super deep. So I think, making sure you lock up the tackles is going to be important for this one.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I think I was going to go Fuaga there with one of my picks. But I at least have Alt on the left side. I think looking at kind of how everything goes here, I think I'm going to bump to the inside because now, I at least get one of two tackles that are left on the board, depending on what Jordan goes here with his other one. But I think I'm going to take Jordan's guy, and I'm going to go with Fatanu from Washington. Solid 5-position type of player. I think playing him at guard, I'm going to start him at left guard, at least as of right now. And I think what he could potentially do really as a starter across multiple positions, I think is going to be solid versatility-wise for my team. And then I'm also going to – I think I'm going to take another receiver. I'm gonna get my second receiver, and my guy is going to be Brian Thomas Jr. I think the possibility of maybe going Jaden Daniels down the road, we'll see how it goes, but pairing up his teammate with him, and he's the epitome of a height, weight, speed receiver. He's going to be able to do a lot. He's going to be able to stretch the field. So Harrison and Thomas on the squad, I think, is a strong pairing there.
That's an unbelievable pairing. The vast majority of teams don't have people I can match with one of those, let alone both of those with that size, speed, and down threat ability. I think that's good.
Luck.
Yeah. Okay, so I am going to do something most teams don't like to do. I'm going to take a center a little earlier than most people want, just because I think the drop-off is that big. I'm going to go with Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. I think if really needed, I think he can play guard, but I don't see any reason to move him out of center. I think he's got all pro potential there. And even though he kind of hasn't been a long-term starter at Oregon, from what we saw this last year, I think he's got immense upside. And so I like him as a rock solid day one starter.
I was going to take him if I didn't take Thomas. So that was my, that was my deliberation. So
I would have taken Thomas if you took Jackson Powers. I think those two we're never getting to Jordan.
Yeah.
All right, so I took my left tackle. I'm going to swing for the fences a little here, maybe a little early for some people, but I'm going to get my other tackle. I'm going to go with Amarius Mims who might be the most talented tackle in the draft. I think, even considering some of the other high-profile guys we have here, limited amount of snaps, but in those snaps that he played, he was really good at fortifying the right side of the Georgia offensive line. Now I need to go to defense. I'm going to take who I think is the best edge rusher in this class. Let me rephrase that. Let me take the best pure pass rusher in this class, and that's going to be Laiatu Latu from UCLA.
It's a great pick.
Right. We've got options now. Okay. So there's a lot of good corners on the board. So it just kind of depends on how much you value the top end guys. I do think there is only one. I guess there's two. I like Jerzon Newton out of Illinois. I've always liked him. I think he could be a game wrecker on the interior. You don't get a lot of pass rushing interior players like that. I think there's only 2 quality 3 techs that I really, really feel high on, and so I want to make sure I snag one of them.
It's a lot of fun to watch. I think I'm going to continue fortifying the interior on both sides of the ball. I think my first pick here of my little back-to-back is going to be Graham Barton as my other guard. This is another guy that I feel like has potentially, the ability to play all 5 positions. So I think having, again, the versatility, he's going to be a stud day one at guard, just like Fatanu is. But having the versatility, depending on how everything shakes out down the road, you can definitely move him around a little bit if needed. And then my second one, to make sure I'm able to grab that other 3 tech, Jeff, that I'm assuming you're alluding to, is Byron Murphy out of Texas. If there's somebody in this class that can be like an Aaron Donald type of player, I think it's him. His quickness and ability to get off the ball is ridiculous. He's a definite game wrecker and really disruptive on the inside. So I'm going to go with Murphy to pair with Turner so far on my defensive line.
Nice. And this one I've actually been waiting for. I feel like this is long enough, but I got to go T'Vondre Sweat. For the biggest reason is he is the exact opposite type of player that Newton is. He fills up that rest of that defensive line so well. And again, I just think it's one of those, there's a huge difference between him as a interior run defender and the second best. So I'm going to go T'Vondre Sweat.
Jeff kind of took who I was about to take. I didn't want to be left alone there on the interior D line. There's still some good players left, but that one was kind of the only true nose that might be worthy of a higher selection. So even with some of the stuff that's coming out about him, he's still a decent player. So I think I'm going to keep going on defense here. This is the kind of the part of the draft where strategy comes into play, trying to figure out what everybody else is going to do. I'm going to take Quinyon Mitchell here at corner. And you know what? I'm actually going to double up at corner, and I'm going to take Terrion Arnold as well. I'm going to take both of them at corner here.
Expecting that. That's a good one.
That's a good strategy though. Corners start to dry up pretty fast with those 2 off the board. So I don't want to be the last one holding it. I am going to trust our big board. I'm going Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think there's a lot of debate for the top corners at this draft. I don't think there's a clear number one, but I think Kool-Aid's got a lot of potential. And with Arnold and Mitchell off the board, I think McKinstry's the best one there.
Well, you guys leave me with my top corner, and that's Nate Wiggins from Clemson. Everybody seems to have a different number 1 corner. I like all 3 of those guys that you just took. For Wiggins, to me, we talked about it before. Kool-Aid and Wiggins, to me, remind me of Witherspoon and Gonzalez last year. So I think Wiggins just has that ability, he's not really phased by much that's happening in front of him. So he's able to stay quiet and strong and press, strong as his own zone corner. Can kind of do whatever you want with him. So I'm going to go with Wiggins there as my first corner. Still a lot of good corners on the board. I think it's one of the deepest classes in this draft. So I definitely like that fact. And with that, I am actually going to bump over to a different position and fortify my center with Zach Frazier. I think Frazier is a really solid center prospect. Honestly, in most drafts, he's probably number one. But Jackson Powers Johnson this year, really strong. But Frazier, that dude is tough. He got hurt in the Baylor game and ended up basically like making sure he got off the field in the like last minute of the game, so they didn't have to use a timeout. Basically, it broke his leg. So that's a tough dude. That's the type of guy I want at center for me. So I'm going to roll with him.
One of the themes of my team is strength, and so we're gonna keep that up at our edge position with Jared Verse. I like a lot of power at that position. I think Chop Robinson is definitely worthy of consideration here. I just like the way Jared Verse fires off the ball. Is kind of ferocious as he can play with, and when he's got somebody swallowing up the interior like Sweat will, I think it gives him even more one-on-one opportunities.
So Jeff is filling out the defensive line pretty quick. I'm going to go ahead and actually kind of follow suit there, and I'm going to end up taking Chop here, get him on the other side of Latu. And then on the wraparound, oh, man, I'm going to take a guard here just because I need to be able to fortify the inside of my offensive line here. I'm going to go with Jeff's guy, Dominic Cooney from Kansas. I'm going to take him, put him at left guard for right now.
I think there is one corner that a lot of us feel still really comfortable with, and I want to make sure that I lock him up. So Ennis Rakestraw Jr. from Missouri is going to be my other starting corner.
Watch. Unfortunately, he had a little bit of an injury, injury plagued season, but he's definitely a solid guy, and I think first round possibility too. So I like that. I think where I'm going to go here, I am going to go get my number 3 receiver, and I think it's going to be Troy Franklin. I think him as my number 3 on the inside, again, being able to kind of stretch the field. I really think all 3 of my receivers can really stretch the field deep, and then also sort of, take stuff from underneath, create a little bit, but have enough speed to really, break angles and get down the field as well. So I'm going to finish up my receiver group here, taking Troy Franklin. A lot of good slot corners here, so it was a tough decision, but I think that's the way I'm going. And then I am going to go grab another edge here, and I'm going to pair my other Alabama edge with his teammate, with Chris Braswell. I think both of those guys on the edge, really good athletes that have a lot of high upside and a lot of good football left in front of them. So I think Braswell and Turner will be really solid on my edges.
So, for those of you that don't know, we're doing 4-2-5 usually as our base defense. It can be modified depending on the players we get, but I like that, which means you need 3 corners. So I'm going to go get somebody who I feel like could definitely outplay his draft position, and Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. I really like the way he plays, big, physical, a lot of athleticism. Unfortunately, just took a bad injury this year. And on top of that, gives a lot of return ability as well. So that's something that we can fortunately take a little bit of time with on our team if we need to. But I like him filling out the outside of the Rakestraw, being kicked in the side of the slot.
I thought about going with him, but I'll let you have him.
Okay, so I'm going to take the first linebacker here, true linebacker, and I'm going to go with Junior Colson, true off-ball linebacker. Had a couple injuries late in the season, but really good run stopper. Yeah, I think he's also got some good coverage ability here too, so I'm going to take him, put him in the middle of my defense. And then I was flirting with the idea of maybe going DeJean here as well and putting him in the nickel, maybe even playing safety. So Jeff kind of took that away from me. So I'm going to go back to the defensive line here. And I'm going to take Darius Robinson from Mizzou. I'm going to play him mostly as a 3-tech here on this defensive line. He's somebody that can line up all over. We're just going to get after the passer on third downs with this team. So I'm going to add him to my defensive line.
He's fun. He is fun.
So while Caleb Williams is a great, I think he currently only has one weapon to throw to, so we need to give him a second one. We're going to go with Donnie Mitchell out of Texas. We want big, deep, physical, athletic threats all over the field for him, and I think that's an easy fit into this offense.
In there, solid option. So I am lacking a little bit in the secondary, so I probably need to go do that, even though you guys are pretty full. I'm going to make sure and grab my guys. I think as my slot, or actually probably going to be my number 2 corner, considering I only have one corner right now. I'm going to go with Kamari Lassiter. I think this is another guy that is a potential, late first round or early second round type of player. Obviously, Georgia's kind of been spitting out corners the last few years. I really think he has a lot of potential. And him on the other side of Wiggins, I think, 2 strong, press and man type of corners. We can really get after it up on the line. So going to roll with Lassiter as my first pick. And then I'm going to dip into the linebackers, and I'm going to take one of the probably most fun linebackers in the class, and it's going to be Peyton Wilson. This guy is like 100 miles an hour at every single down. Obviously running the 4.44 at the combine. Big thing stands out. He can play the run game, solid coverage ability, but his pursuit and his range is ridiculous. So it's definitely fun to watch him run around, and he's getting down guys, 50 yards down the field. So fun player there, and that's going to be my first linebacker on the board.
Nice. Right. I want to complete my defensive line. I am going to go with Austin Booker out of Kansas. I think he's got a lot of potential. Didn't see a ton of snaps this season, but the fact that he started in Minnesota, went to Kansas, kind of just makes it an easy fit on my team. So I'm gonna complete the full defensive line. I like how that looks from both a run defending perspective and a pass rushing perspective.
All right, so my 2 picks here. I'm gonna go on the back end of the defense again, going on the defensive run here. I'm going to take who I think is the best safety in the class, true ball hawk on the back end. Another one of Jeff's guys, Tyler Newman from Minnesota. Again, 13 interceptions in his career. I think that's the right number at Minnesota. Again, about 5 or 6 this year. So really knows how to turn the ball over. Good 3-level player. Somebody that you can trust in the back end. Not the best athlete, but still knows where to go. It's got good instincts as well. So now I'm going to go back over to the offensive side. And I'm going to take one of the better route runners in the class. I want all these guys on my team to be route runners. And I'm going to take Ladd McConkey. I think he can play inside, outside. He can win down the field, get the ball in his hands. He can make plays. He's strong over the middle as well. So I'm going to pair him up with Rome. And I'll let these guys say over for Drake May.
All right, my offensive line is not completely fortified yet. So we're going to go Christian Haynes out of UConn. This is a guy I think that really kind of dominated the level of competition he was playing most times, which is always good to see. And I think he's got a lot of potential as a kid inside to a guard at the NFL level.
Right there. I am going to take my first safety. Jordan took the top one off the board, but I'm actually going to dip down a little bit below in our rankings. A lot of people think that this is potentially the number 1 safety on a lot of boards. I think he has a lot of potential, still a young prospect, and that's Jaden Hicks out of Washington State. I think he's just a third-year guy, so a guy who can come in, still rangy, athletic, and can kind of do a little bit of everything on the back end for me. So I'm going to roll with him as my number 1 safety. And then to kind of finish things out, I do need a tight end. There aren't too many other options, and there's still one other team that needs one. So I'm going to make sure I get the number 2 tight end, and that's Jatavian Sanders out of Texas. Another guy that has a lot of potential, another pretty solid athlete, and you can do a little bit of different things with him. So I think getting Sanders in there and kind of pairing him with the offensive weapons that I have, I think will be a strong pairing.
I like that. I'm going to complete my offensive line with another Christian Mahogany out of Boston College. Those are 2 great guards. I'm happy where we got them. And to be honest, this offensive line is going to be able to move some people. We got a lot of strength. We got a lot of strength on that offensive line. So we're excited to run the ball with Caleb Williams, Malik Neighbors, and Donnie Mitchell.
All right, I'm gonna go over to one of my favorite players in the class, regardless of size, speed, height, weight, any of that kind of stuff. He's gonna have one of the coolest highlight tapes of the year, and I'm gonna put him in my nickel spot. I'm gonna go with Mikey Samerstill out of Michigan. I think this is somebody that any team in the league would have value for. Even though he seems like a slot only, he played a lot of outside at Ohio State as well, not Ohio State, Michigan, excuse me. And he's a former wide receiver as well, so he's got ball skills. We're going to turn the ball over here on this defense. And then I'm going to go back over. Oh, man. I take a running back here. I take another linebacker. Man. I'm going to take the first running back here. And I'm going to go with who I think is the RB1 in this class, and that's Trey Benson. Super explosive, athletic, can do some stuff as a receiver. He's really explosive with the ball in his hands. So I'm going to go with Trey Benson. Mm-hmm.
Honestly, this running back class, depending on which offense you want to run, you can go so many different ways, and in RU 1 or 2. So I like that pick for that team. I think that the safety class is a little all over the board, depending, again, kind of like what you want to do and some of the long-term potential. I'm actually going to go Cole Bishop as my first safety. He's a versatile, do-it-all safety that can really cover a lot of ground on the back end. He's willing to come up and help with the run, too. I think he's going to help kind of fill out that secondary.
I am going to, I think, hop into the D tackle spot. I'm going to get my other defensive tackle here. Not a lot of nose tackle options, but there's a couple spots on the D tackle side that I can maybe slide him in as my one technique. And I think I'm going to go with Mekhi Wingo here. Kind of a shorter type of guy, but explosive. I think pairing him with Byron Murphy on the other side. Murphy's probably more your true 3 tech. Obviously, Wingo probably is too, but I think as a 1, if I'm basically running a even front and trying to penetrate mainly anyway, I do like him there. He played a lot of 5 tech at LSU, so I think bumping him inside will actually kind of help him out some. So I am going to go with that as my defensive tackle pairing there. And then my second pick, kind of on the wraparound here, I'm going to take another linebacker. Not many linebackers off the board, so I'm going to take my other one, and I'm going to roll with Cedric Gray out of North Carolina. I think pairing him as the Mike with Wilson as my Will, I think is a really strong pairing, really good cover ability, and a guy who can come in, make a ton of tackles around the line of scrimmage as well. So I'd like what my NC State and UNC pairing at linebacker can do there.
I'll be honest, Coop. I'm not thrilled he took him there. I was like, okay, nobody's going to take Cedric Gray. They both have a linebacker. All right. Well, if there's one thing our offense needs more of is speed at the receiver position. So we might as well just complete it and put Xavier Worthy as my slot receiver there. He's somebody that you can move inside or outside, but the fact that we have 3 really talented receivers out there, especially when they're playing their best ball, is going to make all cornerbacks unable to sleep at night. So I got picked there.
Man. Okay, so I'm just gonna completely just give up on trying to stop the run. I'm gonna take another interior defensive lineman here. I'm gonna take Braden Fisk at Florida State. Kind of got some explosion to him. He's a decent pass rusher as well for only 1 year at Florida State, but kind of showed out. He's got some good body movement and stuff like that on the interior. So we're just gonna rush the passer really well. We're gonna figure out a way to get the third down and passing downs, and we're gonna cover and rush the passer. And then, man, I'm gonna go back over to offense. I'm gonna grab another receiver. I'm gonna go Keon Coleman here. I'm gonna put him on the outside, and I'll be able to kind of be versatile with Rome and Ladd. Move him on the inside every once in a while. I can still get a true X here with Keon Coleman. Get a ball winner as well on the outside.
The Florida State theme the last few rounds here. Benson, Coleman, and Fisk there. I like it.
All right. I am going to take a little bit of a flyer on my guy. And the reason I say that is because we've had some bad luck evaluating and predicting Georgia safeties, but I think Javon Bullard is somebody with a lot of potential. Again, you don't earn those kind of snaps that early in your career at Georgia unless you really earn it. I like his ball skills. I think he's got zone coverage ability, and more importantly, he's going to be able to take away a lot of the receivers. I think, and if we need to kick him down inside, he can do that on dime packages if we need to. And he's a good balance to Cole Bishop.
Versatility, a guy who's kind of played multiple positions too, so can move him around a little bit. I am needing another corner. I know everyone else is kind of done with their corners, but I might as well go ahead and add my last one here. A lot of really good options on the board, but I'm going to go with Jarvis Brownlee Jr. out of Louisville. He's a guy that you can kind of move around a little bit. You can play him inside. You can play him outside. I like what he brings to the table as a complement to Wiggins and Lassiter. So I think being able to throw him out there as my number 3 is definitely a strong option. And then on the flip side, I think I'm going to go with the other safety. Obviously, I can wait on quarterback. I can kind of wait on running on my right tackle here. I'm going to take my other safety, and I'm going to roll with, I think, Cameron Kitchens. He's a guy that, solid ball skills. He's going to be able to make plays in the passing game, but also you can kind of roll him down and play him as your strong, play him kind of down towards the box, really help out in the run game, and allow Jaden Hicks to kind of play more on the back end as my one high. So I'm going to roll with Cameron Kitchens as my second safety.
So my next competition with Jordan is Will linebacker. So I am gonna go ahead and take Edgerrin Cooper on Texas A&M. Definitely somebody I think overall that we are lower on than the general consensus, but I think a lot of that is due to because of what we expect him to do, day 1, year 2, which is not, I don't think his target date. I think he's a longer term prospect to really get where he needs to, but between his measurables and the way he attacks the ball, which I love in my linebackers, I want him as my Will linebacker.
Yeah, I was down to him or Wallace here, so I'll just go ahead and I'm going to take Wallace from Kentucky as my other linebacker here. And then looking at everything else, pretty much nobody else needs what I need. I would love to kind of bend the rules here a little bit and take Kingsley and put him at guard, but I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go with BB from Kansas State. Pretty much a guard only, but he's got some power in the run game. He's a pretty fun watch. He's really good as a puller out in space as well. So I'm going to put him inside with my Kansas State interior offensive line.
That completes it for you. All right. I want a running back, and there are definitely some good options on the board. It really just kind of depends on what type of runner you're looking for. Because we're only doing one running back, I want him to be able to contribute as a receiver as well. And even though I do believe there may be some other runners that are a little stronger in between the tackles, I think I'm going to go Will Shipley here. I think it's an interesting choice for that team. And again, I'm not going to be the most dominant in between the tackles, but with how big that offensive line is, if he can get to the perimeter, he makes the people miss the open space, and his ability to contribute on third downs, I think is going to be a big difference for that team.
Exactly what I'm thinking, and that's the reason why I'm going to go with Jonathan Brooks. I think he's a little bit better between the tackles, a solid runner, but he's a guy who can also help out in the passing game. Does need a little bit more tune up in terms of his pass pro ability, but he's able to be a solid option out of the backfield. Not going to run a ton of receiver routes, but as more of a check down option, screen type of guy, I think he's going to be able to contribute in multiple ways. So Brooks is going to be my running back. And then I am going to take my right tackle and leave everybody on the edge for what I'm going to do at my quarterback position. So as my right tackle, I'm going to go with Tyler Guyton. There's a lot of right tackle options this year, but I think Guyton has a lot of upside. I know, a lot of us here have watched him put on a little bit of weight, and I think if he finds that happy medium, he's a really good athlete, moves really well, and really can contribute in the run game too. So having him and all kind of as my bookend tackles, I feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I mean, as far as sixth tackle in the draft goes, there's a whole hop horse you could do in that. I got a great pick. So my tight end, then I'm gonna go Jared Wiley out of TCU. I think he's picked up a lot of steam recently, which is good because when I first kind of watched him, I was very surprised at how well he moves at 6'6", 250 pounds. He's got great hands. Another player that can just be a mismatch out in space. I do think there's enough run blocking ability to make it work. It's something he's going to have to improve on. But again, if we're looking at my offensive line, that's just such dominant run blockers anyway. If we can make it help spread the field in addition to that, I think that's going to be a big benefit to the team.
So my last two picks here. I'm gonna go with my center first. I'm gonna go with Hunter Norzad out of Penn State. Somebody turned the film on. Really reliable center. Plays with good body positioning. And everything. He's a smart guy as well. From I think it was Harvard, right, before Penn State. So he's from the Ivy Leagues, but there. And then over to safety, I'm gonna go with my last guy here. May kind of be a little interchangeable here with Newman. I'm gonna go with Keaton Oladapo on the back end from Oregon State. Somebody that's not really getting talked about a lot, but he's a really good 3-level player. Really reliable for Oregon State for the last couple of years.
All right, and for my last pick, my Mike linebacker. Based on my team, I've got a lot of players I can cover. I've got a lot of good athletes. A big reason I picked Edgerrin Cooper is his ability to run sideline to sideline, so we need somebody that can just step up in the middle and make tackles. We're going to go with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I think that's a great Mike option. I think that there is some limitations with today's NFL, as we've talked about, with a player like that. But again, if you put the right pieces around him, he can absolutely work in the right system.
Yeah, it's a great pick. Obviously, I watched Trotter, and I'm probably a little lower than most, but considering your team, I think that's a perfect fit to keep him kind of inside there and kind of hidden a little bit, especially in coverage. All right, so last pick. This is my quarterback. I'm sure I'm keeping everyone on the edge of their seats here. If it's going to be Daniels or if it's going to be McCarthy, maybe it's Penix, maybe it's Nix. But I'm going to go Jayden Daniels. I'm not going to stray away from our board. I'm, again, not the biggest fan of Jayden Daniels. I would definitely rather have Williams or May. But if I have Williams, if I have Williams, then I don't have Harrison. I probably don't have Thomas. I don't have Joe Alt. So I will roll with Daniels. I'll give that up and roll with him to have a really strong team around him. I think, there's a lot of questions surrounding him. Obviously, the mobility, the run ability is all there. And if you give him receiving options like Marvin Harrison Jr., Brian Thomas Jr., Troy Franklin, Jatavian Sanders, I feel a little bit better about it. So I'm rolling with Daniels and seeing what he can do and hopefully develop enough with this team around him.
Okay, so before we look at teams on a whole and kind of figure out what our offense and defense are trying to do, question for you guys: what player on the board, in addition to the team you have now, would change your team? So, for instance, for me, I'm picking somebody like Audric Estime as a running back that can be a change of pace for Will Shipley and punish people, especially in the fourth quarter and stuff like that. When they need short yardage situations, and somebody that Will Shipley might not be able to excel at. Who's a player that you think would elevate your team that you could bring in the right package?
I think maybe, with having Bowers, not a terrible blocker, but somebody you might want to be a little bit, have a little bit more value in the run game. Maybe a guy like Theo Johnson. It's kind of got more of the bigger frame. However, I'll take the pass catching from Bowers over him. And then on defense, I think we kind of picked a lot of the good players on defense. I think one guy that's kind of going a little overlooked. Maybe Chris Jenkins. He's probably somebody. He's not getting a ton of hype, but he kind of is a do his job well. Doesn't necessarily have the flash plays, but he defends the run. He kind of does what he needs to do and plugs up the middle as a run defender.
Yeah, there's a lot of good options still out there on defense, but I mean, again, we picked all the guys we did because there's a lot of really solid options at the top. Not a guy that I'm taking day one or probably even day two, but McKinley Jackson. I took two defensive tackles that are more the penetrators. At 3 Tech and 1. I think McKinley Jackson he doesn't have much pass rush ability, but he's a stalwart in terms of a run defender. So being able to have a guy like that kind of as a rotational piece to bring him in on first and second down, and then really allow these other guys to come in and pin their ears back a little bit, I think would really help on early downs. And then looking over, I agree with Estime. I agree with Johnson. I think those guys are really solid. I think if you're wanting kind of a number 4 receiver, obviously we have Polk on the board. You could go Polk or Franklin. I already have Franklin. Very similar types of players. But I could go with a guy like Ricky Pearsall, a guy who's like a really solid route runner. What I have on my team already are guys that can really stretch the field, kind of these blazers, and I think Pearsall is a step down from that, but a really good athlete, a guy who's going to run really good routes, kind of use that route savvy to be able to manipulate corners and work their leverage and find openings in holes as well. So I think him as like a number 4 option would be awesome with the team I have.
I can definitely see that. All right, so look at the whole team. Jordan, we'll start with you. Offensive to start. What do you like about your team? What kind of offense are you trying to run? What was your kind of goal for building the offense?
Offense is really just kind of build it around what whatever quarterback I was going to have. That ended up being Drake May. Somebody who can push the ball vertically down the field. Have a solid run game to counteract that as well. I like the receiver core that I have. I like Roma Duze. The reason kind of why I picked him over Neighbors is somebody that you can play on the outside, play on the inside. He can stretch the field as well. He's a good route runner too. He's somebody that he's kind of more well-rounded than Neighbors. Neighbors has that explosiveness and everything. But Odunze is going to be somebody who can kind of really do everything. Be able to have Bowers as another kind of inside threat, do a lot of different things in the passing game is going to be good. And then still have a good run game. Probably run a little bit more of a zone style. Try and get Trey Benson going east and west, and then one cut and go up north. And then I'll leave the defense for later. But that's kind of really how I build it around. Is try to build it around May and then even Odunze as well.
Cool. What about your offense?
Yeah, obviously, the big shock at the start was not taking Caleb Williams, and I think. Honestly, I think that helped build the rest of my team. We're talking about 3 guys who are kind of interchangeably at the top of the quarterback spot between a lot of different places. Obviously, Daniels is our clear number 3. But I love having Marvin Harrison. I think he's the best player in the draft. And we have him as a 7-2 grade as that guy who's going to come in and really dominate year one. Having him paired with Thomas and Franklin, definite, strong receiver core there. Really like that option. And then I really kind of valued the versatility on the offensive line. Alt and Guyton as my tackles, really strong options there. But then you have Fatanu and Barton, 2 guys who are really strong at guard. If they need to bump in the center, they can. If they need to bump out to tackle, they can. So I like that. And then Frazier, our number 2 center on the board too. A really big, tough guy. And again, if I have to move some things around, I can get him over to guard if needed. So I really like the explosiveness in terms of my offense, and then Brooks kind of solidifying the run game as well.
Yeah, my offense benefited greatly from your decision to pass on Caleb Williams. I am very happy taking Caleb Williams as my quarterback, and we built the skill position players around him on my team because they are explosive, big play threats on all levels. You have got receivers that can stretch the field that are going to be nightmares to try to cover down the field and across the middle. And the tight end is somebody that is also tough mismatch to cover. He's got a lot of size and really reliable hands. So the fact that he can work over the middle or to the outside of the perimeter is something that to definitely note on my team. And then when it comes to our offensive line, we were power. All of those guys are people that will move your tiny defensive tackles in the run game, which is the only reason I picked want to make sure I got Sweat is so that there's some undersized tackles, which will actually could still make Will Shipley an effective runner on the interior, and especially if we start moving him a little closer to the perimeter and an outside zone game, because they're able to move people, and he has to do less. And then once he gets in the open field, he can make players miss. It is difficult to cover, and then top it off, his receiving ability is going to get Caleb Williams 5 legitimate good options to throw to him on third down with good pass protectors on the edges too. So honestly, I'm happy with the offense. Switching to the defensive side, Jordan, same question.
Yeah, defense. Kind of told it in the draft was we're going to give up on defending the run. We're going to get after on the as a pass first unit. I do think Colson still has a linebacker. He's a good run stopper too. So, and then on the corners, I feel like we can match up with really a lot of different people, do a lot of different things. We can play man, we can play zone, especially with the pass rush that we have that is going to get home. So yeah, I really like the team, especially at the back end of the defense.
Focusing on getting to the passer too. Obviously in today's NFL, got to get to the quarterback. I think Turner and Braswell, really good, solid options, good athletes, bend on the side, on the edges there. May not be the most stout in terms of being able to set the edge, but we are getting a guy like Cedric Gray who can really play well in between the tackles. Peyton Wilson has really strong, pursuit ability and range. So if they're kind of getting pushed out a little bit, I'm hoping that those guys can kind of get in there and clean it up. Murphy and Wingo, big time pass rush unit from the inside. So I definitely like that. And then looking at my back end, again, Wiggins was my top guy. Wiggins and Lassiter, kind of pairing those guys together. Really strong press coverage corners. Really good man coverage. We can play a little zone if we need to. Brownlee being in there as my slot, as a guy who can play inside and out. And then Hicks and Kinchins, I think, complement themselves really well with each other on the back end, being able to kind of rotate them around. Both good ball hawks, can really find the ball, make a play on it, and help out the run game too. So definitely like to see what my team can do in terms of getting to the passer and also being able to turn it over on the backside.
Yeah, I will say that, taking the last two linebackers I feel pretty fortunate. Those are the two linebackers there because I do think they fit my team, and their weakness will be covered up because that defensive line has a ton of size right in the middle. That's going to be hard to move. That's going to take the run, and that also allows Newton a lot more one-on-one opportunities to generate pressure from the inside. Both of our ends are more power rushers. They definitely have a little bit of speed for sure around the end, but they have some strength that can hold up on the outside. So that front level defense is going to be able to do a lot as a pass rushing unit and a run stopping unit. Linebackers, they both have clear strengths and weaknesses. I think Cooper is, I love his demeanor. Like I said, I think he's an athletic player. He does have some limitations in coverage, but if you use him correctly on third downs as a blitzer or as a QB spy, or just make sure it's a manageable load and just let him play free on rundowns, I do think there's a lot of room for growth there. And then Jeremiah Trout Jr., classic QB of the defense. He's going to lead everybody from the interior, stop the run. Again, limitations as a coverage linebacker, but he's going to be a very sound presence right in the middle of the field. And then my entire secondary is built on some physicality throughout it. So whether it's in the run game or to play a little more press on the outside too, McKinstry was our number one press corner, and being able to be physical all throughout the routes, I think is going to disrupt a lot of timing. And with the defensive line and pass rushing unit we have, we don't need that extended time, so we can get pressure generated quickly and then limit the amount of open field that the receivers see downfield. I think that's a great defense. All right, so appreciate everybody listening. This will be our new video podcast we're starting up. So we're going to be discussing scouting from a lot of different aspects as we progress. So before the draft, we have this type of exercise where we kind of just experiment with what we would do for a draft. We also are bringing in other scouts from different companies, and we're going to be talking about them, about players they like, and so scout reports that they might differ from us on, which is great. It should open up a great discussion. We're also going to bring on coaches to kind of figure out what kind of perspective they can bring and what questions teams ask them and how they're setting up their players before the draft going forward. And then we would hope to keep this on throughout the summer and next season as well, and kind of give more scouting related updates throughout the season. So for Jeff Dean, Nathan Cooper, Jordan Edwards, this has been Scout's Eye, and I appreciate you listening.